What a magnificent card at Sandown Park on Saturday. Of course, they're racing there on Friday as well, but the high-quality action starting at 1:30. The 2:05, the Coral Charge, that's a Group 3 sprint over 5 furlongs. Then a big field handicap at 2:40, valuable prize, the Coral Challenge. The fillies listed race, the Coral Distaff, takes place at 3:10. And then at 3:45, the big one, the Coral Eclipse, which doesn't feature Frankel, but does feature the last 2 winners of the race, So You Think, and Twice Over set to take his chance as well, now a 7-year-old. You've got Far in there for Frankie Dettori. How close would Far have got to So You Think at Royal Ascot had he had more luck in running? Maybe we'll find out a little bit more on Saturday. There's plenty of rain, I suspect, forecast as well, and that will all help Far. All in all, it looks a high-quality renewal of the race. Don't forget Nathaniel as well. Coral, the sponsors, price it up as follows. So You Think at even money, Far at 7-2. 5-1 for Nathaniel, 10-1 about Bonfire, one of 3 3-year-olds set to take his chance, the other 2 being Cogito and also Daddy Longlegs in there as well. Looks at a high-quality renewal of the Coral Eclipse, and now we can hear more with Gordon and Mark.
Yeah, we're going to start by looking ahead to some of the leading contenders. We're going to start by looking at So You Think. We're going to start by looking at him winning last year's Coral Eclipse and his bidding mark to become the first back-to-back winner since Halling in 95-96.
He is. We know how good he is. He's a top-class horse, isn't he? This is his win last year when he gets the better of Workforce. There isn't a great deal between the pair, but the front 2 are well clear, as you would expect, really. Wins by half a length. Shamey Heffernan on his back on this occasion. It's Joseph O'Brien who'll do the steering at the weekend, but he's a fantastic horse. He's 10 Group 1 wins. He's won 6 from 11 since he's gone to Aidan O'Brien. Had a run in the World Cup at the start of the year, and then he's had 2 very good victories. He won the Tattersalls Gold Cup for a second time, and we all know what he did at Ascot last time out with another strong performance.
Gets home by half a length ahead of Workforce in the Coral Eclipse 12 months ago, ridden by Jamie Heffernan. Been ridden for the last 3 races, though, this time round by Joseph O'Brien. Different jockey at Sandown, same result for you?
I think so, yeah. That wouldn't be an issue as far as I was concerned. He's 2 from 3 on the horse. I'm sure he'll have ridden him plenty of times at home as well. He'll know all about the horse, so no, that certainly wouldn't be an issue.
And Coolmore, of course, they've got 3 other representatives in the race, Daddy Longlegs, Windsor Palace and Robin Hood. There's going to be some sort of pacemaker situation, isn't there?
Well, you suspect Robin Hood will be doing the donkey work. He did the job at Ascot last time out. Daddy Longlegs, he can be ridden aggressively. We know what he did in the Irish Guineas when he went from the front, so that's a possibility as well. I think Nathaniel, don't think he will lead, but I don't think he'll be too far away from the gallop as well, but I'm sure the Ballydall pacemakers will be doing the job.
And of course a multiple group and grade winner in Australia and of course in the UK. A stud career beckons.
Yeah, stud careers beckons. It could be the last time we see him in Europe. We'll just have to see what happens after Saturday, but he's always been a fantastic horse. He came over with a big reputation, had a good season last year, and he's not doing too bad this year.
Now, a horse that's got winning form at Royal Ascot on turf. It's got decent form on turf, but it was well beaten the last time we saw it on turf. Monte Rosso. Here's Monte Rosso in action in the Dubai World Cup earlier on in the spring, Mark, and we'll look out for another feature passing the post from Mikel Barcelona.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's one of his a bit similar to, well, not quite like Epsom because he had an easier victory this day, but it was an impressive performance. We haven't seen him since, so he'll go to Sandown at the weekend, having not been on a racecourse for 98 days. But if you go into official ratings, he's the best of these. He's 127 compared to Nathaniel, 126. So you think in Cityscape, 125. So if you go strictly on those figures, he's the best horse at the weekend. But I still think he's got to do it on turf. He won it on Tapita that day in Dubai. He's 2 runs on turf in Group 1 so far. He's finished 4th in an Irish derby and he's finished 7th in a German derby as well. So I'd just like to see if he's as good on turf with that sort of rating as those figures suggest. And
I heard Godolphin just putting out earlier this week that he hasn't run for a while. That's stating the obvious, but they reckon he might need the race on Saturday.
Yeah, I read that myself, so a slight doubt in that respect too. But he's a good horse on his day, but we'll find out if he's an absolute top-notcher on the grass, taking on the likes of So You Think again, who obviously beat that day, but whether he can do it on the grass we'll find out at the weekend.
Champions Day last year, here is So You Think in action again. I mean, so many races tie in with So You Think. I mean, he is the key horse in the race. He's a pivotal sort of form link, isn't he?
He is. He is the key horse. This day he comes off second best behind Sirius Dagles. We've got a few horses in behind the likes of Twice Over as well. He had a couple of defeats. He got beaten in the Arc as well, and as I say, was beaten in the World Cup on his reappearance. But he's looked very good on his last two starts. They seem to be riding more for speed now than stamina, just slightly altered his training regime or the way they ride him in his race. But I thought it was very good at Ascot last time out. I know there's been a lot said about whether Farr can turn things round, but I thought he always looked in control. I thought possibly Ascot last time out, I'm not convinced Joseph O'Brien saw Carlton House nipping up the inside, but once he saw him, he really responded well.
Yeah, and he was just held, saw that footage, just held in the Champion Stakes, wasn't he? I mean, he's ran his heart out again, but just held. Half a length, I think, the winning margin.
Yeah, it wasn't beaten far, and he was beaten by a specialist 10 furlong horse in Sirius Dagles. He's a high-quality horse himself.
How do you make the renewal of this year's Eclipse? A lot of people saying it is a decent quality renewal.
I think it is, yeah. When you've got 4 horses rated 125 up to 127, there's no real arguing with that. It looks a strong race. Whether the winner will turn out as some of the greats who've won it over the years, the likes of Dancing Brave, but you go into it looking forward to it.
Now, Mark just touched on the fact that Farr was unlucky in the Prince of Wales Stakes at Ascot when he was finishing third to So You Think. Here he is in winning form earlier on in the campaign in the Thirst Hunt Cup, under top weight, absolutely romping home by 6 lengths. An amazing performance.
It was hugely impressive, but he was time shown. He's absolutely thrown in, albeit off a rating of 100. You don't say that very often in a handicap, but he's very impressive. He got behind early, he beats Osteopathic Remedy, only conceding £4. He wins by 6 lengths, but you suspect it could have been 16 if the jockey had asked him. Then it was a big step up from the Thirst Hunt Cup straight into a Prince of Wales. He got behind early. He's become increasingly sluggish at the start in his races. With a clear run, he may well have finished closer. That was the first time Frankie had ridden him at Ascot last time out, so he might know him a bit better at the weekend, but I still think he'll be hard-pressed to turn things around.
He's lightly raced, 3 wins from 4 starts, including that many people reckon to be an unlucky defeat in the Prince of Wales Stakes. We'll soon find out just how unlucky, but needs soft ground. That's the thing. They'll need rain at Sandown to see Farr at his best.
Probably, yeah. He's got 1 win on Good to Firm, but that was in a race that was nowhere near as strong at the weekend. But I think a bit of cut in the ground. There's rain around down there, so that should suit. He's by Pivotal, but whether he can do it again. I heard your question and answer session yesterday with Graham, and I'd agree with Graham. Whether he can do it a second time, he's only had 4 races in just under 2 years. To go back to the well in a Group 1 race like that, I still think he's got to prove he can go and do it. Whether he's a real hard man like So You Think.
The Coral Eclipse is traditionally the first major clash between older horses in the current classic generation, and flying the flag for the classic generation 2012's Bonfire, the Dante winner who only finished 5th at Epsom in the Derby. What do you make of Bonfire? Can he be reignited?
He could be reignited, but I think he's going to have to be, isn't he? Because he's going to have to step up on. This was his best performance of his career, arguably, where he beats Ectiham in the Dante. For whatever reason, things didn't happen at Epsom. Not convinced he stayed. The track probably didn't suit him, but this is still pulls apart from beating the likes of So You Think. So I think he needs to up his game. You look through the 3-year-olds who've won it since the turn of the century. You're looking at Giants Causeway, Oratorio, Hawkwing and See the Stars. He's Bonfire realistically in that class.
He has, I mean, Graham touched on it yesterday, he can be a bit fizzy, but he's also very lightly raced. Andrew Baldwin was just saying he pricks his ears, he doesn't find much, he gets to the front and he doesn't so much stop, but he doesn't go further clear. And Andrew's also saying that he didn't probably act to his best round Epsom. Jimmy Fortune said that, he didn't seem to handle the track very well. And I think after Saturday, he's going to be put away for an autumn campaign.
I think that's the plan, and a bit of cutting the ground would probably suit him as well. I take all that on board. Things didn't go right at Epsom. I'd put a line through that performance, but from a form point of view, would you be fancying Ectiham if he was lining up there at the weekend? I just think he's got to improve a lot.
So are we both going to be in the So You Think camp?
Probably So You Think, but I think Cityscape is a dark horse of the race. You could get 12-1 last night on him. I think he's a big player. Roger Charlton's been crying out to try him over a mile and a quarter. He was good in Maidan. He's had a break. I just think he's a better horse than when he had injuries earlier in his career. I think he's an interesting horse, and I don't think he should be 12-1.
Well, whatever happens in the Coral Eclipse at Sandown on Saturday, you can watch it unfold live right here on Racing UK.